Boom. Good evening, good afternoon, and good day to you. I am Samuel Davis III, and we are here again for another session, another conversation about life, whatever comes to mind. Today's a little different. Today I got this morning and started going over some politics and things and thinking about the state of the United States and my part in it. And who am I and what am I doing? And just really criticizing Kamala Harris for certain things, and as well as Donald Trump. And I sit back and I say to myself, am I right or wrong in my opinions? Because what am I doing? And what have I done? And what's my part in any of this? So what I wanted to do right now was I wanted to bring in my guy Benji here. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I'm trying to get this layout set up here, Benji.
It's all good. It's all good.
But I wondered what I was wondering is, have you ever been a time, because this is what hit me, with all the positions everybody's trying to get jockeying for positions and things. And I remember there are times when I was in the military where I had to outprove myself to um somebody else in my ethnicity. I had to be better than them, and I had to prove myself. I'm better than that guy. Like there might be 15 black guys in it. I got to be better than all of them. You know, um, and I just wondered about in other avenues in life. Have you ever ran into those type of situations where maybe you had to step on a head or two to let them know that, hey, I'm better than them, and not necessarily in a derogatory way, but a way that I had to separate myself from the boys, the men from the boys, or whatever you want to call it. And when I say that in conjunction with everything else, with the democracy and everything, because currently my wife and I, we're working with a local politician here, and he's doing things here locally that are really really good. Um, and I wondered if my guy was going to come through cutting the grass. I don't know if you can hear me, but anyway, I had wondered what if you had ever had to step on any toes. That's what I really wondered. If you had ever had to step on any toes in your journeys or travels, where have you been at, and separating yourself from coworkers and otherwise. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. I do. I always say I do. It's like when you in business, you do. You have to make some tough choices. Each one of us neither been the grunt, the foot soldier, or the general. Every one of us, and every one of us end up fighting each other at some point. But we're
Mm-hmm.
still friends because we're friends. Business is business, right? And you have to do what you have to do. And your friends understand that. And I'm the same way. Does it hurt? Yes, because you
Mm-hmm.
feel like you let them down because you're not going to be there. But ultimately, it's not just you and me. When I got a team of people that I'm responsible for, and they have a team of people they're responsible for, and those are the bigger issue. And can you do it? Yeah, you have to. I mean, this is part of life, right? So if you don't cut that cord or don't do those things, your men
Hold
and
on, hold on,
women,
hold on, hold on. But you said it's
yeah,
a part of life.
it
Cutting
is.
people off like that is a cut of life for you?
It is for me
Really?
because it's kind of like like the Matrix. You remember the movie? He chose the one. I
Yeah.
wouldn't chose the one. I chose the world.
Hmm.
He chose the one Trinity. I
Hmm.
wouldn't. I'll be the other. I'll be like the other one that chose the world.
And you're making that decision because of experience, or because of what? Why would you make that decision?
I've done it all my life, and my friends did all our life. We always chose the world before we chose like the individual.
Mm.
There's a was that something like what's a high good? what's the highest good, right? Whatever that is, right? That's the whole thing. You sacrifice even yourself, and that's the thing that we will grow up with, and that's just the way I. And my stepdad military, and most people in my family are military, so I kind of grew up with that. You make that sacrifice, right?
Mm,
And but if you decide to be a foot soldier, you're going to be in the front line. You know that. You sign up for that, you
mhm,
got to be okay with it. But if you sign up for the general, there's a bigger issue. It's like you may lose your best friend because
mhm.
in order to save the troop, right? Um,
Right.
there was a great movie. It was like the Civil War movie, and it was some like where that there were a colleague that were a general, the other one was such a foot soldier. When he
Mhm.
became in charge of the troop, he had to make the distinction. He's no longer my friend. He's just another soldier, right?
Right.
And that's a tough situation. And business is the same way, right?
Mm.
Now, is it right? I have no idea. Is it wrong? I have no idea. But that's just the way business goes. And I'm like, if you're going to play in the rule of the game, then play that game. Now, we talk about this. If you can change and create your own rule, then do that. But I couldn't at the time. I can now, but not at the time. So
So when did you get that eye of the tiger that you're talking about? Because obviously you gained it, and somewhere you said you always had it, but you started out in business, you weren't always on point. So
I was
when did
on
you
my own.
gain that eye?
Yeah, I left home when I was 19 years old, and I survived on my own for so
Now
long.
where's leaving home for you?
West Texas, West
Okay.
Texas. No, there was no physical abuse there. All that. It was just emotional. You're not good enough, Benji. You're stupid, Benji. You're not blah
Mm,
blah blah. You're not a typical Asian. You don't. Like I couldn't read. I couldn't write well. What I was good at was math. What I was good at is finishing, right? And what they don't understand is a distinction between starting and finishing. I was good at
mm,
finishing, so I craft that distinction, right? And I have the tolerance for pain, right? Because I can handle a lot of that stress, right? And so
mm,
that was part of it. So the skill set wise, I'm just like everybody else. You learn to win. If you compete in sport, you know that some people is going to be faster and bigger than you are. You just
yeah.
got to figure how to like navigate that. Yeah, if you will block a guy that's, I'm sure you block some guy bigger than you are. You go, how am I going to like block this big ass guard, right? You just got to figure a way, right? Things like that, and no different than business and life, right? You just got to navigate it. But for me, this was the rule of the game. This was the rules of engagement. This was the board that I signed up for. This was the Monopoly board that I signed up for. Now, the game is just like Vegas. The house is always going to win. You just got to get a little lucky once in a while. That's really all it is for me.
So do you think that when you when you cut those other people down, that it's just business, and do you think that you're setting yourself up for something later on that they're gonna just business you as well, something
Yes, yes.
comically?
Yes, it
So
happened both way. It happened absolutely both way. I cut this one guy. I came back a couple years later. He's the one to interview for me for a job. Oh yeah, he poked fun at that for sure. But we understand each other. That this is your time. That was my time. It's the way it goes.
mm,
I don't take it any more than that. But ultimately, though, at the end of the day, though, did I do the best I can. Majority of the time I did, but not always. Sometimes I'm kinder, sometimes I'm not. It just depends, where I'm at in my life.
mm,
I wish I was always kind, but I'm not that way sometimes. Yeah, that just happens sometimes. You go because in the beginning you were proving yourself so much, and you also want success, right? So at
mm,
that point, it was all about that. Then you become successful and all that. You like, and this when people say, money's not always the a good thing, right? Success that way is not a good thing, and that was a hard lesson. So other people in my generation, especially in the early 20s, realize that making money that way doesn't make you happy because the karma come back, right? It
mm,
come back, and you don't sleep well, right? And those sort of things. So now I don't do that. So I don't have to do
mm,
that anymore. And so when I work for a client and things like that, and one of the things is, some of these clients I work for, like, I made it clear. I'll do whatever it is for you to do, but I'm not gonna inadvertently. be dishonest and take money, right? So
Mm.
I work a lot with Salesforce and things like that. I'm not going to be dishonest and things like that, and so they understand that completely. So they never cross that line with me, and I make them tons and tons of money. I mean, a crazy amount of money because
So you say
yeah.
you don't go to you don't how do you say it? You don't go like for the jugular or something like that,
Mm-mm,
or there's
mm-mm.
something. So
Yeah.
but you also yet earlier you were saying you stepped on heads.
Yeah, when you're younger, you do because you got to
So
prove
so
that
so
point.
what are
Yeah.
you lassoing like a I mean you couldn't do like a Ginsu, or are you just blazing, are you just blazing a new trail every time you go through? I mean, because there are some people like and I just give it to and I'll give it to Donald Trump. I've never heard him say he lost anything. As much as he's made some losses that we've all seen, he
Hmm.
still keeps that, and he never bends his will.
Yeah.
You
I,
you're saying, you
yeah.
had to make some steps, and you were
Yeah.
expecting it to happen back to you.
Yep.
So do you know
I don't inadvertently lie to people, but it's not always. I'm not going to paint up like that. I'm always going to win. This is back to what we talk about in business. I don't care how good you are. Even Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, you lose 70, 80% of the time. The thing
hmm,
is, their 20 and 30% is much bigger than mine.
hmm,
That's the only difference, right?
hmm,
It's like I have two company that I built was multi-million dollar between the three of us. That's multi-million dollar. But I didn't know how to do the multi-billion dollar until I worked through some of these other companies. I see the process. I see that
hmm,
certain attribute that I didn't have at the time. Not
hmm,
yet. I'm working on it.
hmm,
And that's just because aging, right? When I got older, when I was younger, it was the opposite. I didn't learn that. I was just cocky, confident. I just bulldoze with people. I bully people. That just gets you so far. It doesn't work that way anymore, right? So I have to learn to lead differently now, and that's what I'm doing right now. Because in the beginning, I drag everybody to the finish line. That didn't teach them anything.
hmm.
All they got was my money, right? But then I end up being tired. So I this is part of going through the process of doing the form. I realize I have to lead from the back, not from the front. And what that's saying is like I got to make sure everybody finish at the same time, not just me. That's the whole idea of it.
So that sounds like an OG type of thing. That's the guy standing in the back, puppet mastering stuff. That's what it sounds like to me, because I don't really know too many people that lead from the back or tell people what to do from the front and from the back of the room. I mean, maybe that's a different way, the style of looking at how you do it, but
Yeah. Well,
that's what
think
it
about
sounds like to me. And
yeah.
as we welcome over there, Robin Shin over here, everybody
Yeah, there you
taking
go.
coffee right
Yeah,
now. Welcome to
yeah.
the fray. We
That's
had
Howdy.
right. All right.
we 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 had started a conversation earlier when on politics, race, and democracy, and kind of got turned into the power dynamic, um, and personal. Here he goes again.
It's
My
all good. It's all good.
last week we talked about a day without a Mexican, and,
Yeah,
that's what we just
exactly. Exactly.
and here we
Exactly.
go today.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
showing up. Um, but the conversation I had was just about personal involvement, stepping on individuals, and to get where you are, to get your point across, and I just write from my notes. What's my stance? Politics, race, and democracy. Am I a part of the solution, or am I the problem? Have I ever had to keep another of my race or ethnicity away from opportunity? In athletics, sure. Law enforcement, for sure. In military, we all wore green, as they say. So have I ever had to step and personally go against someone else of my ethnicity, and how I felt about that? That was what um, I was thinking about, as far as just personal things, as far as power dynamics, and how it felt like you being raised Chinese American. Did you feel that you had to step down on others to prove that you were better than, or in any position at all?
No, not really. I mean, certainly not because of my race. I never felt like that. But Benji was dropping some real wisdom just now. I was listening to him, and what he described is that this is something that I think a lot of people misunderstand. So when you talked about earlier, you said athletics, and in athletics, let's say football or any kind of a sporting event, it could be athletic. It doesn't even have to be athletic. It could be chess, right? Those are what we call zero sum games. So in order for me to win football, you got to win a game. You got to lose. I mean that's how it's played. It's a game. And what Benji has described is the arc of his life, where he went from playing the game, and in the beginning is it's a zero sum game. In order for him to make money, you got to lose money. I got to take some money from you, and for me to make it, you got to lose it. To a mature approach that he has now, where he realizes, man, this is not a game. And so it no longer has to be what we call the zero sum game. The zero sum game is in uh, gaming theory that they do for programming and stuff. Is for me to win, you got to lose. That's a zero sum. That's what is defined as a zero sum game. But if it's not a zero sum game, there is such a thing as a win win. I can make some money, and maybe you can make some money too because of it. Or if I sell you a product, I'm selling you a product you really want and you really need, and I make some money, and you get a product that you really want and you really need, rather than, there are some times where you see a lot of marketing where they're trying to sell you stuff you don't need, right? I mean, and and worse yet, maybe you can't even afford, good example of cars, right? Nobody needs a brand new car. uh, Maybe you want one, but you don't need one. And I'm trying to convince you that you need one, and trying to convince you that it would be in your best interest to have a new car. Whereas we all know that the new car is the worst deal on the planet. The car loses 50% of its value the minute you drive it off the lot. Why don't you just buy one that's, 6 months old, and you save a whole lot of money and you get almost a new car anyway? Because your car going to be 6 months old. Even if you buy a brand new, it's going to be 6 months old in what? 6 months. So, you know, Benji was really, bringing forth, an interesting factor where he started to realize there is that big difference. And just because I win doesn't mean you got to lose, because you know, sporting events are games, but life's not a game. And when we realize that we all can win, and the old saying that the rising tide raises all boats. And Benji is describing the concept of leading from behind. It's a little bit different, because in the West, when people think of someone leading from behind, it's like somebody leading from behind. In the military, that doesn't count. That doesn't work that way, or it's not a good saying in the military, because in the military, there's the go honors and the come honors, right? You know, if I'm the colonel and in charge of the battalion, I could either say, "Hey, come on, guys," or I can say, "Hey, go on, guys," right? The come honors and the go honors, and you don't want to be a go honor. But Benji isn't talking about that. He's talking about the Confucian approach, where if you're the correct leader, everybody who's following you thinks it's their idea and does the right thing.
Blah blah blah. Benji is a god. Blah blah blah. Benji's a god. Give me what you just said
Mhm.
in a sentence that somebody from the street can understand in 3 sentences.
Well, Benji has said that, when he was younger, he played a zero sum game. In order to win, someone had to lose. Now that he's older, he realizes there is such a thing as win win, and maybe even a third party win win win, and that you
Right.
don't have to lose just for him to win. That's it.
Right.
Hmm.
You win bigger. You win bigger. So think about
Right.
this. Think about this. So during our events, from one thing that I was really good about is transforming me. That means I'm successful. How do I transform my community? How do I make my community successful?
Ooh.
That's 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 the difference between leading from the front and from the back.
Hmm.
Now, here's an analogy. If you watch a wolf pack, lead, the leader is in the back. The strongest is in the back. The weakest is in the front, and like not so weak like the child and the mother that's in the middle. Why is that? You want the weakest to be the pace, and you make sure that everybody finish, not just individual, right? So the idea is the community to finish and succeed, right? That's the idea. That's what came from that workshop for me. And that's when I realized my friends were that way with me. At the time, I thought I was the strongest. No, I was the weakest. They lead me from the back. They no longer here, and it took me that long to figure it out.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Okay. I hear that. I get you on that. So with that being said, Robin, applying it to you, how is that applied in your life with power dynamics and in your growth and where you are right now and you stand as a man?
Well, a lot of it is also, it boils down to, what how a good team really works. I mean, even if you are playing sports where you think you're playing a zero-sum game, you're still playing with a team, and your team has to succeed, right? And what's always the big complaint for people who are bad team players, let's say in basketball, right? The guy who won't pass, right? Hogs the ball, wants to be the one who always wants to, shoot the basket, right? And but the guy who passes all the time, right? That's really the good team player. And when I work and where I'm working now, I try as much as I can to help the other, not just help the other team members, but also help the other teams that work with me. Like, say I'm on a night shift, I try to do things and help the day shift as much as possible. But every time I come into a situation like this, I often find that there's a lot of contention between the teams. Night shift complains about the day shift complains about the night shift. And everybody is like, and then of course the both shifts complain about the roving patrols and all this kind of stuff.
Mm.
And I'm always saying, no, that, like I'll try to give the day shift a warning that something's going to happen. And they go, well, why are you warning them? They never warn us.
Mm.
And it boils down to, I don't do that because they're good team players. I do that because I'm a good team player.
Mm. Mm.
Right. And it boils, now Benji mentioned something about Wolfpack, and I have a personal experience on that. That's pretty, it speaks to that almost exactly what he described. As you know, I mentioned last week, I used to do dog sledding, and so I used to have a lot of dogs. And I had a yard, and I had all the dogs in the yard, and there would be 5 or 6 dogs in the yard, and there would be one dog that would be the alpha dog, and he always got to eat first, and he always got to, greet me first, and he always got everything first. Now, anybody who's ever had a lot of dogs, every once in a while they'll have an escape. The fence breaks or something like that, or someone leaves the door unlocked, and the dogs would escape, and they would run around in the town that I lived in, and I'd have to find them, or people would call me and say, hey, your dog, I got your dog, because they got the number on the collar and stuff like that. And it was interesting because every time they escaped, that alpha dog would end up in jail, right? He would always end up in the dog pound, and the other dogs would be at some, like they'd be at a local cafe and stuff, and the cafe owner would call me and say, hey, your dogs are here, and I would go to collect them, and they would all be hanging out with the customers, and their lives. Basically, the alpha dog in the yard was not really the alpha dog. He only looked like the alpha dog to me because he was the biggest bully in the yard. But as soon as the fence was removed and they were free to choose their real leader and follow whom they really wanted to choose, he couldn't bully them when they left the yard because they would just run away from him. In the yard, he could bully them all they want because they can't get away. So they go, okay, I got to listen to this guy. I think it's like in prison, right? I mean, you got people, bully other people. I can't get away from him. So yeah, of course he's in charge. But once we get out in civilian, you ain't in charge. I'm just going to leave you, right? And so there was another dog that was the true leader that would lead them. And the bottom line was that the purpose of the leader, everyone thinks that the purpose of the leader is to accomplish the mission. That is not the purpose of the leader. The purpose of the leader is to take care of the team. The team accomplishes the mission. The leader takes care of the team. But if the leader takes care of the mission, then the team will take care of the team and not care about the mission.
Yeah. And I totally agree. You know how much I had to pay for that loose loose speech right there. So like, I pay for this one. So this is one of the leadership workshop that I went to. The leadership is only responsible for the environment of the team. The team is the one is the responsible for the result.
Right.
Leadership have nothing to do with result. Your own responsibility is your team environment is successful, and that
Yeah.
was a lot of money in learning, and he learned that with the dogs. Think about that, you know.
Yeah.
So that's actually a really success. This is not the new success in business, right? And so that's the key thing. But think about this. Think about Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is definitely an alpha dog, but he didn't win anything until he learned to lead from the back. He makes sure everybody's accountable. Yeah, he was a little painful sometimes, but I would go six ring all day long. I would suffer with him all day long. I don't care if he yell at me, punch me, or whatever. If I got six ring, I'm going, right?
Mm,
People like that make that sacrifice because not everybody is Michael Jordan. You gotta know who you are. You know who I am? I'm Steve Kerr. I
mm,
clutch.
mm,
When you need me, I'm clutch. That's what I
mm,
am known for,
Yeah.
right? And so no matter what, you gotta know what you are in that part of it. But if Michael Jordan kind of step down, whatever, if I need to take the team over, I can only do it to a point because of that mentality Michael have. There's a natural instinct and natural skill set that they have, and so people like Steve Jobs, and Bill Gates and the guy from Amazon, they have that natural instinct. For me, is part of what I had to learn and go through. And this is part of it. I'm 60 years old. I'm still learning this, but these are lessons just mentioned about literally there's like leadership is responsible for the environment. Your team is responsible for success and failure. Now, when they fail, you take on it. That's part of being a leader.
mm. I was um I was um I was led to think while we were here, guys. um how I had to kind of a combination of both what you both were saying about this leading thing. There are plenty of times where I've had to first off, you come in, um I have the presence of being black and in my environment first and foremost, so that puts me in a certain position already. And as I walk into this room, depending on what kind of location it is and wherever it is, I've got to morph, and I got a code switch so that I can navigate. Then once I set in there, I use kind of like my innate skills to read out the room, get a feel for the room, and then start finding out who are the movers and swingers in the room, and then post. Listen to people, hear them talk. Next thing you know, you hear somebody say, "Oh, what are you doing?" I hear them say, "Oh yeah, blah blah blah. He's in law enforcement." Oh, blah, blah. Then the room, somebody else says, "Oh yeah, that guy's in law enforcement." Over there. Then you don't hear nothing. Then, oh, the black guy over there is in law enforcement. Then the guy and it's bigger and bigger. The thing starts spreading, and next thing you know, you're in an area where they want to sit back and they want to talk and ask you questions. And I hadn't said nothing but a couple of words in a couple key places. And I'm saying that when other people feel certain things from you, do you and I get training from going to these sessions, but do you feel like there is an innate skill set that you feel, or did you gain it from the books? What you're talking about, this leadership, and that goes both for both of you. I'm going to leave you both to say that, to answer that, because I hope you understand the way I was explaining it. You come into a place and put your essence or your presence out there and get it known. As far as, I guess, that would be a certain style of leadership. So, comments.
Now, definitely different style for sure. I am not a motivated guy, right?
Mm,
I am not that way ever, right? It's yes and no. You know, it's not. I don't really at the point where that I know what I need to get done. I just need to know where we are. If you need me to step up, like a Michael Jordan. Okay, I'm in the fourth quarter. We down by 20 points. You need me to step up? Yes, no. Boom. One of us going to step up. We're going to finish this. Now, that's the way it is. Now, my best friend, Brian, he would try and coach him up, try to make him work. It's just
Mhm,
a different philosophy, right? And it worked both ways. Are very successful. He's a
mhm.
better trainer than I am in a sense, but I'm a better finisher than it'll come down to it. Ultimately, though, in business, there's going to be that point where, okay, you know what? Back to the conversation we had before. Be aware of the teaching moment, and then there's aware of business. That's where I come down to it.
But you have to learn that though. I mean, that's kind of like an edge that you got to learn what you're talking about now.
Yeah,
That's
and
an
part
edge
part of
because you just don't come out of high
yeah.
school and pick up and stay and pick that up. So it came from something. You had to cut some teeth and possibly ruin some friends and
Mhm,
lose some friends and live in that little house on top of the mountain because you're tired of
mhm,
the people down below
mhm.
that you had to step on. Somewhere along the line, you had to cut your teeth.
Yeah, business. It's just experience. Because you
So is that
remember,
what you call in business? Just
yeah,
cutting them
business.
people down is business, huh?
It's business for me. So I've been in business for 40 years. I really don't have a regular life. I don't socialize when so but just recently I went to the movies like maybe a couple years ago to see Dune, whatever it is. But prior to that, the last time I was in a movie was 1999. That's how long in between I hadn't seen a movie
Hmm.
because I'm not that way. I've never been motivated to be that way. Now, don't get me wrong, I go out and have fun and things like that, but in general, it's in the context of in my life, it's always been business. That's the way it goes, right? So I don't really like, for example, like I can't stand being Thanksgiving. I check in the hotels just to be alone because I can't be with the family because I don't handle that stuff at all. Things like
Mm.
that, right? Those are things I don't enjoy. Now, Christmas is different. I enjoy Christmas, so I make sure that I plan it properly and things like that. But my context always been about that growth first before anything else. Now,
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
that's gotta stop, man. You gotta come over here for Thanksgiving and have a barbecue, Benji.
I know,
That
right?
you can stay in the hotel, but you're gonna be coming out here or some shit, man.
Yeah, right, right, right. Now, don't get me wrong. I love
You gotta
turkey,
have a
but yeah,
California style. You gotta have a
yeah.
California style Thanksgiving where
Now, my ex is like Martha Stewart. The food is like Martha Stewart. The
Oh
the
wow.
table is like Martha Stewart, man. But it was just too much drama, man. I was like, it's just too much, right? No, but the thing is, I've learned everything through business. Now, I went to workshop. I've gone through things like that, but I pay attention. I made so many mistakes over and over again. But the one thing I've learned the hard way was is kind of like no matter what, making money can overrule being polite. That's the overall factor, right? Because you cannot like ruin somebody's life just because of money. It's
Yeah,
pathetic.
but you've had to cut somebody down somewhere along the line.
Oh
That
yeah.
business is money, and you've
Yep.
taken that Thanksgiving around.
Yep.
So, is there some kind of trauma behind Thanksgiving and cutting people? Is there some kind of
Oh no, the Thanksgiving I can't stand. Period. Because I look at Thanksgiving. Why would I celebrate somebody genociding another
oh,
nation?
there you go.
That's that's
There you
that's a
go.
yeah.
There you
So
go.
Christmas is different for me. This is like that's the thing.
Okay.
But did I made some mistake big time? I fired some people that I regret. I definitely got in somebody's face that I regret. And if there was a reset button, I would have done it. I wish I was a little bit kinder. It's because at that age I was extremely aggressive because everything was about success. Success. Back to the story, right? I was not good enough, blah, blah, blah. Benji, you're not good enough. Well, I was trying to prove my point, right? That was the whole story. Then after a while, you're like, you know what? That was just not proper. Humanity is much more than that, than just this. And then that was just the hard lesson for me. And now I get in position to do these kind of thing. All these people are doing this kind of thing. They're going through the same thing I'm going through. I tell them, brother, trust me, it's not worth it. Your wife, your child needs you. You don't need to go through this part of life, okay? You don't need to go through three marriages, and you don't need to lose all these friends just because you want to make 10,000 more a year. It's not worth it. It's just not. Because now the new before it was the Japanese that did all this, And then now the Indian guys are doing the same thing. They're selling their soul for that, you know, and then they live in big house, big car, Tesla and all that. I went through all that in my 20 and 30 as well too, realizing that's not fulfillment. You know, that's a hard thing, you know, and that back to the same thing I keep talking about. What it is what it is your divinity, what are you here for? Everyone got divinity inside of us. What is that your expression, right? That expression has always been art and music for me. It never been about money. But everybody said, well, you know, like you can't make money with art and all this stuff. People do. I just got to figure a way, man. I
Mhm.
musician doing great. Some of these musicians are like slamming, right? And doing it in the right way, right? And don't things like that. So, but even in musicians, some people like copy music and stuff like that and make money from that. People that does like like sampling and all that stuff, right? Then you got people like Prince that does original music. You got people like other musicians. Like, I mean, I love Bob Dylan, right? I thought it was the coolest thing. Now, you know, his word is is beautiful, right? For me, it was right. But some people see that as it's not. And then you got like people like Pink Floyd, right? They got the original sound and things like that, right? Things like that was original sound. Those are pretty nifty. But you can always have that contentment and financial success. That's what you decide to do. I got sidetracked because of society rules and things like that. And who fault is that? Me, because I bought into it. You know?
Well, hold on, hold on. Speaking getting sidetracked because I got to have Robin. I got to have Robin
Yeah,
comment
yeah.
on what you said from earlier. And I know we went on a little rant there, and I'm sure that Robin, I'm sure you can catch us up on on everything that he has said up to this point in your comment.
Well, the question was, did you learn that from books or did you learn that from experience? And clearly, I think for everyone, it's a combination, right? Benji, he said, well, he learned a lot from experience, but he also went to a lot of courses, and then he took the information he got from this. So that's a formal training of a kind. It may not have been at a university, but he went and he learned that, and then he reflected on it, and then he applied it, and some of it worked, and he kept some of it, rejected some of it. But the thing is, though, that what he's highlighting is that not all that glitters is gold. And we have this idea that we're going to, we're sold on this idea that that's success, right? You're wearing a nice fancy suit, you're driving a nice fancy car, you got some, your family is all set, and you have all this all the attributes that we think of, and I see that a lot because now that I work as a bodyguard for truly for billionaires, right? We see that that's not how billionaires are. Like if you see somebody in a fancy suit and a fancy car, I guarantee he's not a billionaire. He might be a millionaire, but I guarantee he's not a billionaire. And if you see his bodyguards in a suit with a radio in his ear and standing around like this, I guarantee that's a movie star. That's not a billionaire. That's some cheap ass movie star, right? Who's made millions and millions of dollars and making movies or a celebrity, but that ain't no billionaire, right? If you see their bodyguard, they're not billionaires. They're millionaires, and the purpose of that bodyguard is to create the image, not to protect the celebrity. I'm there to actually protect somebody. If you see me, then I'm not there to protect them. I'm there to give them an image, and so that's why we are never seen. But we are sold on this image of what it is to what happiness is, and the marketing of what happiness is always, if it's marketed, it's something that costs money, some kind of bling, right? And someone's trying to make money off of you, trying to sell you this idea that if you have this, you're going to be happy. Unfortunately, what it is that you want is going to cost money, so you're going to have to give some money up. But go back to what Benji's telling us, not all that glitters is gold. And if you were to ask these people and go in, you guys all still there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. If you're gonna go into and ask, and you say, okay, why do you want money? Well, I want money so that I can buy a fancy car. Well, why do you want a fancy car? So I can drive, to the coast and on vacation. Well, why do you want to drive to the coast on vacation? Well, so I can hang out with my friends over there and show them my fancy car. Why do you want to do that? And then at the end of that, if you just keep saying why, at the end it's just so I can be happy. And what Benji has says, cut out the middleman and just be fucking happy now. Right? You know, you don't need the fancy car. Like, I want the fancy car so I can be happy. Well, why don't you just be happy? You don't need the fancy car to be happy, because that, I guarantee, as soon as you get that fancy car, you're going to see another fancy car that you want. Then you want a jet. Then you want something else, and it's never going to end. Cut out the middleman. Because the guy who's selling you the car is going to tell you that this car will make you happy, right? And he's the salesman. That's his job. He's there to sell cars, and it's like, oh yeah, you buy this car, you'll love it. You'll have a great time. The chicks will dig you. You'll be great. You fucking drive all over the place, and everybody will think you're all super cool, right? And you're like, okay, that'll make me happy, and that's why you want to make the money. But once you realize that you can be happy without that, then there's no reason to buy the car. And if there's no reason to buy the car, there's no reason to grab the money. And if there's no reason to grab the money, you ain't got to step on nobody, right? And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that that's basically what Benji is telling us.
Is that it? Can you agree to that, Benji?
Yeah, it for me it is. So every day my focus. So like everybody, we talk about food and money all the time. Right? That's like the least thing I think about. I just ate my first meal. It's like 20 minutes ago. That's my first meal, right? My focus, working so forth, is not money. It's my ability to express my divinity. I have all this code in my head that need to come out no matter what. Pay or not pay, I gotta type the code out. It doesn't. Now I'm lucky. I type these code out. I get paid for it. So I figured that part out. But ultimately, though, there's more of this coming out that I won't type. If there's a keyboard, I will type, right? So the thing is, it's like some of these came through in the very beginning of when I was very young. I didn't know what to do with it. It was just too much. It was just too much of a stream. So it's no different when somebody writing a book or writing music. It's just come, and you just got to write it down. If they make money off of those books or music, great. If not, it's going on the shelf, just like some of these things. Same thing with my code. Some of it's been sitting on the shelf, but some of it's been refined and things like that. So that's why I do what I do. Now, I've
I'm
turned that.
gonna ask you a question because
Sure.
I got to. Who do you have that you're training underneath you?
No one.
No one, because when I hear this, it's almost like you're giving the world a disservice for not having someone to pass. Now, this is great for us to have this right here, because we're going to get all the things of recording, conversation we're having, and things are something that I hope that we can take later on to get to the point where we can pass on this knowledge on. But it's almost like you're doing the world a disservice by not having someone here to pass his knowledge on to.
Correct.
It's like
correct. Remember, you're correct.
It's one of those things where, because I think that's the whole essence of why we started talking about uplifting and having this community thing. Correct. Because we wanted to be able to talk to people, because there are things that that only Shin recognized, because he took the same course, or you recognizes some of the tone from the cataloging and from the verse parsing, but there are others that need to know these things.
Yeah.
There are others that need to know these conversations, and not only these conversations, but need to know kind of what we are all doing right now. Getting to this point where they can sit back there and say, hey, I want to have somebody be able to tell me, or push me a little bit, tell me, okay, this is why they got to go to do it right, and instead of being self-centered. But you're doing a self-service to this. Well, go ahead.
I got. Go ahead, Benji. I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, he's right. That's the reason I couldn't figure out how to uplift my community. That was the whole thing. That was my gap, right? I knew how to uplift me, right? But how do I take that to my community? That's just grandkids, David, yourself, or my neighbor, my best friend, grandkids. How do I uplift them? That's exactly, he's right. He's dead on. Go for it.
Well, you touched on I have to be very careful now the way I respond, because I don't want this to turn into a rant. Because you touched on
it's going to do it anyway. It's going to happen anyway. So let it loose. Let it loose. That's what we're here to do. Rant. Let it go.
You touched on a sore nerve, because quite often I'll encounter people and they'll say, well, I'm not successful. I tried to do something and I'm not successful. And they usually point at some external thing over which they have no control
Hmm.
and say, that's why I'm not successful. Right. And I don't want to, there's a sore nerves, gentlemen. The most obvious and easiest scapegoat is what? Is race.
Hmm.
It's the quickest thing, right? You know, you can't change that. It's an external thing, but there are other things. People go, because I'm old, because I'm young, because I'm disabled, because I'm enabled, overly enabled, and I'm intimidating people because always some external reason instead of looking inside.
Hmm.
And when I see people do that, I say, you know what? You are not succeeding, but I think there are other reasons, and I'm pretty sure I know what they are, because I've encountered that same thing. Like Benji, you can see that. You can see somebody trying, and you see him failing, and you go, I know why he's failing. But if you try to tell him, they don't want to listen, right?
All the
They
time.
want to, right? They don't want to sit there and go, well, it's because I suck at this. They want to hear an external reason, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't want to hear, and then they don't want to take that responsibility. And when you say, well, we're doing a disservice because we're not telling people, I've got all these courses and stuff that I can teach people all kinds of stuff, but it feels like why do I have to chase people down, hold them down, suck their dick, kiss their ass just to get them to listen to me?
No, but see, but here's the
I'm the
thing
one
though.
who
Okay,
knowledge is power, and I'm
no,
the one with the
you know
power.
something. Okay, let me
Right,
say something to that because
right.
it's funny you say that. How? Because here's the thing: you have to take something and you have to embody certain thing to make people want to feel that, to want to come and be attracted to that energy too. Though there's got to
Oh,
be something. There's got to be something that's got to be a pull for it too. And I'm
right.
not going to say that you can't. I'm not going to say the word is. I'm not going to use charisma as much, but I can only use that because that's where I'm at right now. There's got to be something that's got to pull me in and say, okay,
Well,
you know what?
let me respond to that. Let me respond to that exact statement. There's got to be something that pulls, and that's an incorrect statement. There does not have to be that, because I don't have to do it.
Okay,
Right?
okay.
This is not up to me. Right? And the thing is that if I have some external pull that pulls this person in, the lesson won't really be learned, because they're learning something from me in order to be successful, rather than learning something from me or Benji in order to transform themselves. Right? And
Take me
again, it
back
goes
to
back to
take,
chasing the money, chasing the bling, right? And if I have, let's say, I a course that I'm teaching, and I put bling, I put starting at one point and bling on the other end, right? uh they're not gonna they're Even if they go through the course, the lessons aren't really going to sink in. And furthermore, that ain't my job. I'm already making money. I'm already living a happy life. If people want to learn something and be successful, they can come to me. I have put things out there, and I have made offers, and I have found that if I ask somebody to do me a favor, right, come help me move my furniture, I'll get bigger response than if I say, oh, hey guys, I have something to teach you. Let me teach it to you. It'll be helpful. I'll get less of a response.
hmm.
It's crazy how reluctant people are to learn. You guys have experienced that. You guys have all had jobs where you had to call your friends and say, hey, give me a hand with this. Man, they all show up, no problem. If you call all your friends and say, hey, I got something to say, I got something to teach, they'd be like, well, I'm kind of busy, and right? It's almost like a deliberate, it's not just a reluctance, it's almost like a willful refusal to learn something new and useful.
I
It's
mean, but
crazy.
I mean that's and I'll just go back for me. And I hate to use race, but I'm gonna say it. Black culture, they don't. There's certain things that I've learned that you try to pass on to other in my community, and they don't want to hear it. All they want to
Right.
hear is
Right.
yeah. So
But you call that same guy to help you move your furniture and he'll show up.
well, I mean that's that.
That's so weird. Isn't that weird? That they would rather fucking come out and do hard labor than learn something from you.
That's why you have to embody whatever it is that you are putting out and pushing forth. You have to embody it, and it has to be something that to me, just somebody it has to be is appealing. So people
Right.
look at things by your repetition. This guy walks the street like you know what? I don't even want to get religious on it, but I'll just tell you kind of what I learned with Baha'i recently. You know, they put him in this prison, and he was getting so popular that they had to move him from one prison to another prison. What was happening along the way was he was stopping along these different prisons, and as he was transferring from prison to prison, the word of him was getting bigger and bigger, and they helped push the religion of Baha'i, unbeknownst to them, by stuff starting in the prison. They're hearing about the wonders of this guy in a prison, and the word is spreading. So when you're talking about someone in a prison who is spreading word out into the streets, this is why I say when I talk about you have to embody what it is that you're looking for. So there has to be something for someone to see something to say, hey, you know what? I'd like to see what it is that this guy has to offer or what it is that he's teaching me. And then, I can see it because he embodies it. I don't see this guy on the corner, drinking liquor on the corner of these guys, or smoking cigarettes at the local pool shop, pool hall. No, this guy is actually doing what he says he's doing. And it's something to look up to. And that's the thing I'm talking about as far as embodying something. That's what's the
Right.
attraction. That's what the
Right.
attraction is to me. Benji is a great business guy. I haven't even seen his acumen, but I know Benji, but I have to see certain things. Sometimes I've been suckered by some of the best too, where the guy just looks the part, and all of a sudden I go back and I find out this guy's living in the back of a box,
Right.
and I'm like, dang, dude,
Yeah.
now I'm helping this guy out more. So I hope
Yeah.
I
Hey, you're looking at my box now, okay?
Yeah.
Go
Hey,
easy on the box, all right?
Yeah. Yeah. And seriously, I don't live in big houses. I just live in different places. I live in hotel majority of the time because that's my comfort zone. The big house, the kids have, I don't care about that stuff. I never do, right? Because it's like, I enjoy just doing what I do. That's expressing me, right? Whatever that is at the moment. So the more I can cultivate that, that's what I want.
let me ask you, Benji, with the fact that you say you live in hotels and things like that,
Yeah.
is that why you find it easier to buy homes for other people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Mm,
one of the thing that one of my thing is this is actually a Buddha thing that I was in the temple that told me from a very very early age. Maybe it was something that they meant for me. It's like you were born with this gift of making money. You got the green thumb, but we don't want you to keep it. We want you to share that. And
mm,
so, but the thing is, I didn't learn how to share it with discretion, right? It was meant to be shared in the right context, right? So doing positive thing and don't just waste it. But that's what my thing was. That was my covenant that I came up with. That's
mm,
what the Buddha told me. I don't know how they know all that stuff, but they said this is what it is. And
mm,
they gave me one of these things to keep it all the time. So because they said you're going to travel the world. And I did. Maybe it's subconsciously that's what I hear and that's what I do, right? I don't
mm,
know, but that's exactly what happened. So I really have no property. Like I have no houses. My car is actually in my company car. So I live like a Buddha, and I prefer to live that way. I have no problems. Like Brian, my best friend, got this huge house. I mean, I'm not joking. Like 4 season house. I sleep on the couch, and he's like, I have 5 bedroom here, right? I know. It's the same thing. I'm just comfortable there, right? And and his significant other's like, what's wrong with him? He's just like sleeping on the couch, things like that. And so for me, it's not a big fuss. Now, when it come down to my expression, when somebody try to filter my expression, because I'm in Asia, they're trying to filter my expression very, very young. They're trying to change my narrative. Even when I was a young age, I get really defensive and fight like crazy. So for me, that freedom of speech was a big deal. The freedom of the mind is a big deal. The mind is here, it's not the body. Everything else I can surrender to, but when it comes down to that, I fight like crazy. So the narrative have to be on my terms, whatever that is, right? So that's what I focus on more than anything else. The rest just come. It's just automatic. So I've been blessed with that part of it. But Chen's right. I had to learn to be a better leader. I was a good leader, but to be a great leader, you learn that through the process. Everything.
Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna ask you a question. This is gonna be off the charts, a little
Hmm.
bit
That's
difficult.
okay.
You go to hotels, you don't buy the house, you stay home, you live like a Buddha. So do you get mani pedis?
I don't enjoy
I saw
that.
the hair. I saw the hair.
I don't. Yeah,
You can get your
yeah.
hair done.
I don't enjoy that, but I enjoy massages. I go to
Okay.
Four Seasons a lot, right? So
Okay.
I get pampered, but I don't
Okay.
do the nail thing too much. But I go to Four Seasons a lot, so I get
Okay.
pampered a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm
Okay.
spoiled a bit. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
There we go. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
That'll work. Rob, any comments from that?
No, no, no.
Yeah.
I'm I actually I enjoy staying in a hotel, but not because I don't like staying in big houses, but because I stay in such a shitty house that a hotel is always a step up.
It's a different thing. So, but still, you know, yeah, I like the room service. I don't like to, they take care of everything. That's the thing. And even when I was a child, there's always people taking care of me, always. So, for me, I have no problem folding clothes, doing laundry, and all that stuff. But if I don't have to, I'm not going to.
Yeah,
You know,
that's an Asian thing that I think a lot of
Yeah,
Westerners, especially in America, don't fully understand.
yeah,
Like when I was a kid, we had maids and stuff, and people, oh, your life must have been so easy because you had maids, and they don't understand the Asian mindset, right? Like I was a rich Asian kid.
yeah,
If you're folding your own clothes, your parents get mad at you because that's time you could have spent studying, right?
yeah, yeah,
Right. It's like we got people to do that. You should be studying.
yeah.
If they see me, cleaning my room, I'm like, why are you cleaning your room? I got people to do that. You should be reading a book, right?
Mhm.
wow.
And it's not to the purpose of the maid is not to make your life easier. It's to free you to do something that's actually harder,
Yeah,
right?
Hmm.
And
yeah,
that's the when he says he grew up and like even if you don't have maids, if you couldn't afford them, your parents will
yeah,
do all that for you because they
yeah,
think you should be studying your ass off,
yeah,
right?
Wow.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know what,
yeah.
Robin? I was gonna say before you said that, it's that's always the thing that I've always appreciated about you. I've known you for all these years, man, and it makes me even want to get emotional now, dude. You have
Yeah,
always, we talk about the horse therapy stuff, and we talk
yeah,
about a lot of different things. And no matter where I seem to may have gotten in life,
yeah,
mentally or wherever I got, you come down and you bring it down to a certain level. You make me say, "Whoa,"
yeah,
sheesh. It comes down to that point where I remember you started when you were doing the bow, when you were doing with the bows, and the bow hunting.
Mhm.
And I was like, man, just taking everything down to just the root level of the basics, horsemanship and archery and learn how to play a new instrument when you're playing the violin. I just want to say, I've always appreciated that about you, man. That's one of the things I've always really, really appreciate about you. Besides that, that military attitude from that, you know, don't give a damn about whatever type of attitude. But I've always appreciated about you, man. Just want to say
Well,
that for
well,
sure.
it's the same, Sam. Goes both ways, man. It's not just I don't always have that. You have to realize, Sam, that you have a talent for bringing out the best in people.
See, but see, that's everybody's different, right? So you have that naturally, right? You coach people up, right? My best friend does that to me, right? So he's gone. It's my turn.
Mm.
I got this. Now it's my turn to take that role, right? So this is the kind of thing that's passed on to the next person, next man up, right? I'm next, right? So I had to go to see his son, got to coach him up and things like that. I've never been a natural parent because I don't have kids, natural kids of my own, but I can clearly see this is what's required at this moment. So yeah, I'm going to take care of it like I always do.
So, with that being said, this is the perfect segue to kind of end this thing right now because this goes back to what I was telling you, Benji. Having a protege, having someone to pass that on to. I mean, there you go. The words just came out of your mouth. It's important to have something. I think we were kind of. I'm not gonna say we were wrestling with it, but when you're a young guy, you want to meet a girl, you want to have sex with this girl because there's this thing that there's this drive and this zeal in you to do something. There's a drive.
Don't know why you got to be young for that.
There you go. You remember that subject I'm talking about, shit. There's something there that you got to pass on, and it comes generational, and that's what community is all about. You get a community of people, sooner or later you got to pass on what you learned to someone else so the community can continue to thrive, and that's exactly where we're at right now. So with that being said, let's end this one here, and that was a great show, guys. Great conversation. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Cheers.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks.